Yes, sir. Let's go. I'm joined by my guy, Jeremy Jones. Oh, it hurts me to say this, but Gonzaga basketball alum, going on year 5 professional basketball with the Toyotsu Fighting Eagles in Nagoya, Japan, and is a managing partner at JonesTrauber Capital, literally running a VC fund while playing professional basketball, which is incredibly impressive and fascinating, and we're definitely going to dive into that. But Jeremy, let's skip the small talk, bro. You gotta know that you're stepping on Santa Clara territory right now. So you see, I got the drip on, right? I brought it. But listen, that's not all I brought, okay? You know what I'm saying? We coming ready. Like I'm telling you, I got ready for the episode. You know what I'm saying? I brought the warm-ups. But that's not all that I'm. Sorry, go ahead.
I said that's the first thing I noticed when I got on the call was that you had this Santa Clara stuff on. I started to go change.
But look, I know you're going to, but look, we're not done yet. Oh, hold on. Okay.
Hey,
we here, baby, just so you know.
You're a proud alumni,
just
bro.
so you know.
You're a proud alumni. They should be reaching out to you for some funds.
I know. No, I'm too proud of an alumni. Man, okay, I'm going to get in trouble for telling this story. I think it was either 2018 or 2019. The summer before the season, I don't know if you remember this, our athletic director put an ad in the Spokane newsletter about Santa Clara athletics, basically saying like, we coming. And I'm sure you playing for Mark Few, you know he keeps receipts. This is like Josh Perkins, Rui Hachimura, Brandon Clarke. Mind you, our squad is like okay, but there's levels to this, clearly. Y'all were up 30 and then decided to press, and then the lead literally doubled. And we lost by like 60 or 70, bro. It was ridiculous. And so after the game, I'm with my boy Josip. I don't know if you remember playing with him. Josip was like all WCC multiple times. My boy, my teammate, one of my best friends, like one of the best players in Santa Clara history. And we got beat so bad, bro, that my dad got me and Josip a 6-pack. And, bro, we didn't leave our dorm for 3 days because we were so embarrassed.
Jeez. Yeah, man, that's probably don't want to poke the bear at Gonzaga basketball with those type of players on the team and one of the best coaches in college basketball history. So,
bro, when you guys have a sold out game, I'm sure after you got back, you're checking your DMs and messages like, "Hey, bro, come out, come kick it, come do this." And I was getting those messages, and I was like, "No." I did not. Bro, I didn't even play. I didn't play. Like, I played 1 minute, and I didn't show my face for like 3 days, bro. Oh, my gosh. So, I know in your face about the Santa Clara gear, bro, but cool that you're joining the podcast, man. So, I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you having me, of course.
Man, so with the Pac-12 and everything that's going on and the Pac-12 disintegrating, you guys have been trying to leave the conference for years. Prediction on where you think Gonzaga basketball is going to take its talents in the near future?
I definitely don't know anything you don't, but I think with the basketball program being the prominent program at the university, not having a football team, obviously they're going to move on what's best for the basketball program. And I think Mark Few and the athletic staff over there, like, we want all the smoke. I think you could expect Gonzaga to go to a real smoky conference.
Well, hey, we're getting better, though. You know what I'm saying? We got Jalen to the league, we got Paz to the league, 2 first-rounders, okay? Yeah. So we're coming, Coach Prime voice, but I understand at this point if Gonzaga wants to, take it to another level. I wouldn't be mad at it.
For sure.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
We respect Santa Clara's doing their thing for the longest. All we knew was Steve Nash, but now y'all got some other names in there, so respect.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So, man, you're one of the first active players I've met who is genuinely involved starting and running his own venture fund. What point in maybe was it college or post-college that you realized that this could be a real thing for you?
Well, both my parents are entrepreneurs, so I knew when I went to college I wanted to do something in the entrepreneurship realm. So that was what my concentration was. My major was business. Concentration was entrepreneurship and innovation. So I was in a lot of classes where we came up with startups, or startups came in and they were pitching us their their decks, and we were the investors just to kind of learn how it goes. And then the professor, who was actually an angel investor, would roast some of these founders. Just seeing that was pretty intriguing, and then went on to get my MBA. And I always knew I just loved investing and was intrigued with money and how it works and just how to make it multiply. And when I was at Rice University, my now co-founder was the first person my freshman year who told me to put some money in a mutual fund. And his dad is one of the top investment bankers, recently retired about a year ago at Citi in Houston. So obviously took that advice, put that money in that mutual fund, and that's really where my investment journey started.
Yeah, and we want to give your co-founder so much love. Shout out JT Trauber, who played basketball at Rice. He was your teammate.
Shout out JT Trauber, another Houston guy like yourself. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. So when you and JT were at Rice, you guys were talking about like, hey, man, this could be a possibility, or was it
Yeah,
the seed was planted then and then it sort of developed later?
the seed was definitely planted then, just with our friendship really, and we always talked about wanting to get into business together. And it's funny because he was in my dorm room one day, and we had all this cash of money, and we like threw the money in the air, all these $100 bills, and like took a picture together on like the couch of my dorm room. And like fast forward, what, 9 years later, we're starting a capital group together. So it'll be cool if we actually use that as our business photo moving forward.
Man, that's like where they started, and then they'll be like where you ended up. And then it's like in New York by the stock exchange, some portfolio companies like going public, and now you have to wear a suit and can't throw like money like it's the you know what club. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, man. So most of my audience knows exactly what venture capital is. It's very easy to pick up on what you're doing. But for folks that, back home that admire you or younger kids who, one day could get into this line of work, what is venture capital and what specifically are you investing in?
The way I explain it to our athletes who usually have not had a venture capital touch point is that like, hey, the companies that you can go invest in publicly, they all started small, right? So that's essentially what venture capital is, a high risk, high reward industry. And, by investing in these companies, you're giving other real people opportunities to build something special. And, there's just so many different sides of the table when you're looking at venture capital, so many different positive things, job creation, and all these type of things are the things we touch on as it relates to them investing in our fund and our fund investing in a founder and a whole new company to potentially be that next great thing. And just to clarify, we started the capital group with the focus on all investments in the private space. So the first thing
Okay.
we're tackling is venture capital, especially with professional athletes, entertainers, influencers, like they want to be a part of some cool stuff. So,
Right.
there's some other real small stuff that will raise money for real cool projects that aren't necessarily venture capital, more so private equity stuff
Okay.
that
Wow.
these get real excited about. And maybe the other stuff is our first touch point with them, and then they're in our second VC fund. So
Absolutely. So diversifying the portfolio, it's not just VC. Basically, you're being very opportunistic as you start out.
the reason I really started this was because I was at a crossroads of, okay, do I just want to be an LP in some funds by myself, or do I just want to angel invest my own money? And then I just started to think of, my former teammates or my friends that are professional athletes that have money, and thinking about like what they're doing with their money, and none of them are in VC. Maybe a couple of them were, or even really knew what it was. So, or even really in any private equity type stuff. A lot of them know real estate. That's easy. Everyone loves real estate. But it was kind of like a whole nother asset class that was untapped for them, and that I was tapping into, and I wanted them to be a part of it. So some guys, they don't even have their public portfolio set yet. So,
Right.
I'm not a financial advisor, but I, just talk to them about like, hey, you can open up a Fidelity account and get your Roth IRA or your traditional setup, and contribution limit 6,500. So, just starting them with that little stuff, just buy the S&P 500 and just helping them out there. And then, maybe in a year or two or three, then they'll be ready for this stuff. But just really, it really came from just wanting to help my friends, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Backtracking a little bit, the venture capital side, right? Investing in very early stage ideas and teams, and hopefully one day they become very impactful companies that increase job creation, disrupting the industry, and you had a hand, hopefully, in the beginning or the very early stages. And then, you also, seems like you're also a source of information for your peers who've been playing professional basketball and maybe they want to get into sort of public stocks or what you talked about opening a Fidelity account. I think it's really cool that you serve as an investor and a resource, at the same time. What's some interesting advice that you found yourself consistently giving to these athletes that come to you?
I guess it just depends on who it is and where they are in their journey. Some guys you can't really give advice to, right? It's just educate, educate, educate until they get
Right.
it on their own. Some guys are investors. They're looking for the next real estate deal, the next private equity deal. So I
Sure.
guess it really depends. My thing that I've really had to learn is just to educate people, right? Like maybe send them an article here and there that they will or won't read, or send them a little note. There are a lot of athlete venture capital groups out there. Um,
Yes.
I'd say a lot, but maybe
Relative.
like, yeah. But there are so many athletes that have no idea, like professional athletes that have no idea what venture capital is or investing really in like this asset class is, which is why I decided to start a capital group. Like there's still so many untapped athletes that it's crazy.
Yeah, the subject of this episode is VC, and I'm like a pig in mud right now, man. I can't wait to dive into this for you, bro. So, current VC market, if we assess the state of the current VC market, I'm here in the Bay in San Francisco, so the earliest stages I feel are still relatively active. I'm seeing that like the later stages, the B and beyond rounds have been, very closed off lately, except for like some exceptions. Like there was a huge ramp investment announcement and some companies that I think are going to go public or get acquired regardless whether they raise or not. What's been your current take on the VC market, and how have you been sort of assessing what the next move to make is?
We're looking to operate in kind of like the earlier stages with our fund. The money being raised there is lower than it has in the past, but compared to, the later stage stuff, the pre-IPO, I think we're doing okay. Obviously, like the pre-IPO stuff, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, which is scary, like you said, for the later stage companies and the later stage guys. But for us, it's essentially, especially being a follow-on investor.
Yeah,
Follow-on, I mean, like tagging along with proven VCs.
right.
Essentially, still seeing like a good deal if it's pre-seed, seed, um, even Series A. Good deal, good founders. They got a good company, good runway that they can get through uncertain times. Then personally, we would do the deal.
So you guys are mainly co-investing with bigger VC firms that take a lead, but you guys are looking to find allocation. Because
Yeah,
that's your pocket, right?
yeah, and we're teaching athletes, right? But we're still learning too. Like JT and I are
Sure.
new to the space. We're learning a lot, so we definitely weren't going to come out the gate leading deals. So we're just tagging along, doing our diligence, finding our way, and then maybe with the second fund, we'll look to maybe co-lead deals, and then
Okay.
maybe fund three, and we'll really get out on those skinny branches in fund three and lead our own deals. But just depends on, how quick we learn and really get comfortable with this stuff. We've got great people that we've been able to talk to and that reach out to us. Like,
Yeah.
some VCs at prominent firms that, you know, like me and JT have been roasted, so just stuff like that is great for us and our
Why
learning.
were y'all getting roasted?
So we were roasted because we were, and I won't name the firm, very prominent firm, respected, and I
Sure.
appreciate this guy 100%. But
Yeah.
we were on a call and we were essentially asking about a company that they invested in. And the investor felt like JT and I's questions weren't specific enough. They were just broad questions as it relates to the company. And what he was explaining to us is, as emerging managers, even though we're asking for their expertise, we should come to these calls with, one of my favorite words is unconventional. So I'm going to say an unconventional way of thinking about whatever company this is that they might not have thought about, even though we're asking for their opinion. So we should be essentially making a deposit into the bank as well, if that makes sense.
So basically, you're saying like, what value add do you have by jumping in this round? And one way you could prove that is by asking these untraditional, unconventional questions, yet they push not only like the entrepreneur, but the VC that's leading the round to be like, oh, these guys are thinking about this in a unique angle. I think I think they could have some value add down the line. And it sounds like y'all weren't coming hard enough and got roasted as a
Exactly. That's
result. Is that?
what he said. As an emerging manager, like if you're coming at me with these specific questions and maybe questions that he can't even answer, then he's like, oh, like, they can think a certain way. Now down the line, he has a deal and he's like, future allocation. Oh, let me give it to these guys. So like
Yeah.
everything, I mean, every day, that was something huge for us. It was very humbling for us as well. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
For sure. So let me just ask you, man. First time fund manager, still playing professional basketball. What makes you think you're going to be the next big VC?
just the hard work, just approaching VC the same way I've approached sports and basketball, right? Just the same work ethic. I have a saying that one of my best friends told me one time at Gonzaga, hard work is undefeated. So just really working hard, putting in the time in, which is what everybody says. Not a lot of people take action on it. So just doing my best to put in the hours, hold my co-founder accountable, have him hold me accountable, not take calls like the one I was describing to you personal when guys come at us. Just really looking for opportunities to grow. And obviously you got to learn fast. So just learning as fast as possible to give us the best competitive advantage.
Let's talk about your investing taste, like from a startup perspective. What sorts of industries pique your interest? What are you interested in putting your money towards?
For sure. Different SaaS companies, especially B2B is obviously attractive. We do have some AI stuff in the portfolio right now. Obviously, when
Okay.
you talk about having a lot of athletes in the fund, consumer is easy, especially CPG as it relates to creating value add and just really understanding. And a lot of our LPs have experience with CPG brands. But we're generalists, man. As long as some stuff takes us a long time to really dig through just because, maybe it's an industry we're unfamiliar with and we have to do our own research and then we have to call industry experts in our network. And then not only do we have to call those industry experts in our network to get their opinion, but we need to bring something to the table about
Yep.
the industry and whatever when
Y-
we're talking to them. So
Yep.
it can become time consuming being a generalist, especially being new to the space. Like I said, we just have so much to learn on this journey. And like shout out to the guys who are already invested in our fund and are essentially on this learning journey with us and didn't just wait for us to be at the top before they gave us some money to work with.
Those are the earliest ones are always, I feel like, the most special ones because they gave you a chance before you figured it out. And so when you do figure it out, that's like a whole nother level of like loyalty and appreciation. For me, there's two skills in VC that are dressed up as being a good investor. Number one is being a master researcher, like learning about something like super fast. And then number two is being a good salesman. You have to sell your fund and you and JT's ability to pick the outliers. And when you're raising with these LPs, sales is as much VC as investing is. Do you see it the same way?
Most definitely. And shoot, you spent time at one of the top VC firms. You were in all those meetings, and people say it all the time, right? It's like the storytelling. So like, what story am I going to tell to sell a LP or to even sell a partner at a firm that they should allow me to invest with them?
Oh, okay,
And
so hey, look. I might be an LP in your fund, bro. I'm interested, but I'm not sold yet. Why should I invest in you?
are you investing in any other VC funds?
No, I'm looking to dabble. I'm starting to dip my toes in the space, but I'm not sure which one's that fun yet.
I'm gonna go this far. I'm gonna tell this story. So we were on a call with the NBA player, and he's not invested in any VC funds. But our presentation starts out very educational because, like I said, most of them have not had a VC touch point. And when we got to the end of the presentation, he now knows who Sequoia is, who Andreessen is, who Lightspeed is. He knows all the top firms because we educate him. So then one of the questions he asked is, okay, why should I invest in your fund instead of Sequoia's fund? And I said, if you can invest in a Sequoia fund, you should go invest in a Sequoia fund. I said, but Sequoia funds have a minimum that you probably are not going to give. I said, but if you have X million dollars to go give to a Sequoia fund, I said, go ahead. And I said, another thing that's different about our fund is we're focused on co-investing with Sequoia and Andreessen, all these different top firms. So essentially, if you're investing in our fund, then you're, for lack of a better term, getting an index of all the top firms instead of just a Sequoia fund.
Like that. Because you're co-investing, it's like, look, you're investing in an index. Like, this is the same quality of deal that you see these firms in. We're there too, which means you have to secure allocation in those deals.
Exactly.
To begin with. That's sick.
Sure.
And you mentioned that most of your LPs are athletes. Without, name dropping, who are some of the folks that are in your fund?
Yeah, so our core mission is focused around professional athletes, entertainers, influencers. So that's who we're primarily going after. I think when we're building something from scratch, especially early on, there has to be other people in the fund that have expertise in different industries that can support us as GPs and the other LPs in the fund. I don't think it would be necessarily the smartest idea to go be a first-time manager and go get a bunch of athletes who are first-time LPs. We have about, I want to say, 8 former or current NBA players, I think about 11 professional athletes total. We have a former Fortune 500 CEO who's currently chairman of the board at that Fortune 500 company. And we have a former vice chairman of the board at a Fortune 500 company as well.
A little firepower there, a little firepower. Okay.
We've cold emailed some people, followed up, didn't get responses, reached out to this LP. We knew that they were actually a LP in this GP's fund.
Okay.
5 minutes later, the person responds. And we're like, okay, like we do have a little firepower here. We can leverage people to help us out. So like I said, just having some non-athletes in the fund who are industry experts or people well respected, kind of older people to really ground us and know how to, make connections, tread the water.
Yeah.
It's extremely useful and important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your check sizes range?
When our fund is completely raised, we're focused on about 200K checks.
Nice.
And it's interesting because, a lot of people have different opinions on venture funds and ownership percentages and that kind of stuff. But I think, let's say a firm came to us with what ends up being the next Facebook. If we're only to get 25K allocation, am I going to say no? Absolutely not. So we'd also rather own 0.0001% of a company that's the next huge thing than, pass on the deal because we have this straitjacket of only being able to write 200K checks. So
No, for sure. It's tough because I think in the beginning, even on the entrepreneur side, you set ground rules and guidelines for yourself on terms of how much money you want to raise or how much you want to invest. And man, if you're going to operate in absolutes, you're going to miss out on some really unique opportunities. And to your point, not being afraid to write a smaller check so you can get allocation to something that could literally change the trajectory of your fund over the next decade is something that I appreciate, that open-mindedness and perspective.
For sure.
So, man, look, if you could advocate for one startup to be built that you're like, man, this problem needs to be solved. I wish there was a startup for X. What's that going to be? What would that be?
I don't know if it was this morning. It was something about airplanes. I was thinking about companies.
I'll think of one as well. On the airplane topic, and I've noticed after the Southwest flight failures, we learned over the course of the past couple of months with increased amount of cancellations that there needs to be a huge upgrade in airport software management in terms of organizing flights and basically keeping everything on schedule. Now, I'm sure that's getting built out. This is not the first time someone said that. But in terms of the airplane industry, there needs to be a total software revolution because it seems pretty archaic on how they manage inbound, outbound, and the delays of flights. So When you said airplanes, like that reminded me of sort of the Southwest fiasco that happened a couple months ago. And I'm sure there's competition for that. So it's like a random thought there.
For sure. And okay, so that just made me think of two things. One, just staying on, I guess, the transportation wave. So being in Japan, obviously, the bullet train system. If I get in the car and drive from Nagoya to Tokyo, we're looking at maybe 3 to 4, 4.5 hours. If I go to the train station and get on the train, which is not the same long process as going to the airport, you get to the train station, you basically just hop right on the train. I'm there in 90 minutes. And there are obviously a variety of reasons of why this type of public transportation has not been implemented and successful in the States. But I think if in the States, we had these different public transportation system, I think it's something that could boost the economy
Yeah.
tremendously. You got a lot of people traveling even more now because they can get to places easier, spending more money, people making more money. But they can't just put a train in the middle of someone's land in Texas that they
Yeah.
privately own. There's just so many different, I guess, barriers for it. But if
Sure.
something like that was able to be figured out, I think it would be amazing for the U.S.
Yeah, transportation is so tricky because there's just so much legal and physical things you have to build versus software. It's just
Yeah,
developing software, so there's less potential roadblocks and like jurisdictions that you have to deal with. Okay, I have an idea that's right for the taking. Anyone that's listening to this, have you heard of College Hunks, like the moving company that's like all big dudes that come and moves people's stuff in and out? That was like a big success.
okay, yeah.
All right, bear with me here. An athlete-driven event hosting company. So if I'm looking to like set up for a big baby shower or set up stuff for a wedding, creating a platform where athletes can literally be event hosts and help put on the event and get like overpaid for it because they're athletes, but also on the other end, whoever is the user interacting with dope athletes who are like helping them set up for the event and help curating the music, etc. Regardless if they're interested in that team or not, I think like that could be very interesting. Because athletes are naturally charismatic and always know how to have a good time, right? You could think of it as like a Uber marketplace where, you're in the Houston area and someone's looking to set up a premarital party in the backyard and they want chairs, they want a restaurant vendor or whatever, and they just want an event host, someone to come and set that up. You and JT pulling up and helping this random person out, I promise, I think that would be a better experience than your average event hosting company.
think there's, I mean, yeah, it would be cool, theoretically.
You
I
can
think,
poke holes in it, like
yeah, I think it's always tough when you're looking to get the athletes and the influencers physically involved.
but not necessarily. They don't all have to be famous.
Okay.
But it's once again, it's the vetting process where you have, your ex football player, your ex baseball player, soccer player,
Okay.
coming to say, yeah, that's my little elevator pitch.
To do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just rough idea there. Yeah, rough
I like
idea.
that. So in Japan, last season I would go on walks and runs a lot, and I passed by the ring cameras basically, but the Japan version
Okay.
of the ring. But
Yeah.
their ring cameras, some of these homes, they look like they've been installed for 20 years. So I'm telling myself, man, if I was able to be in Japan 20 years ago for XYZ reason and I walked across this ring camera, and then I could have brought that back to the States and that could have been my startup. So anytime I'm like walking around Japan or I'm looking at something, I'm looking for signals of like what they have that we don't have in the States yet that could
Mm.
potentially be,
Go to
you know,
market. Yeah.
yeah. So that's something that I'm definitely conscious about when I'm walking around and stuff like that out and about.
That's super dope, man. Last thing, where do you see Jones Trauber Capital in the next 5 years, and where do you want to take this fund and your off the court journey?
Like I said, just continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to take steps forward from, like I said, a fund one to where we're just learning, only co-investing to a fund two where, we'll co-lead some deals to a maybe fund three, fund four where we're just fully fledged leading deals, skinny branches. And then outside of venture capital, doing a lot of cool stuff with people that we trust, industry experts. Um, like there's a guy Gonzaga grad, wine guy, 100-point winemaker, that's supposed to be sending me numbers and we're supposed to meet soon. Like stuff that's cool like that beats the market that different athletes might be intrigued with. It's a 100-point wine guy. Just doing cool projects like that, making athletes feel a part of something that they're also going to make money on and can call their own. Just kind of being that resource for them to have fun and make their money make money.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate you coming on, Jeremy. This has been a great episode with Jeremy Jones, former Gonzaga basketball player, professional basketball player, currently in Japan, and the managing partner of Jones Trauber Capital. Thanks for joining, and welcome to the A&A community, brother.
Yes, sir. Athletes and assets, the price went up. Let's get talk.
Price went up.